Welcome back, Miniatures Paintbrush Legion, and welcome to another episode of Painting Tutorials. Alright, now let's get into painting Azrael, the Supreme Grandmaster of the Dark Angels. Let's get into it.
Alrighty, opening a box is always new and exciting, and definitely trying to tap away at my entire hoard of collection of 40K models, and I figured I was going to record at one box at a time. Oh, that new spruce smell. It is glorious. Alright, time to snip these guys off. Nothing like starting a new project. And I do enjoy building. It does take a long time, but I realized that I do a lot less sub-assembles than I'm used to. But I do have to tidy up all those mold lines. I am particular about that. Okay, going to start with this banner over here, which I do little flames. I play around with a little yellow and red to make the flames. It was a lot of fun. I've never done a banner before, so that was totally new to me. All right, time for the Dark Angels armor, which I'm using scale color forest green. And definitely something new with banners I wanted to try out right there. And doing this color, it seems it's really cool. Now, keep in mind that when I do a color on one part, I'm going to kind of do it all over the model as to hurry through and not have you here for hours. Okay, so really getting all that forest green and then bale talon green, all right, just to darken up the recesses. And if I have to brighten any area up, I do it again with the dark forest green, but I wanted a gradient within the armor, just a slight one. Alright, I tried a lot of different things, livery green amongst all of them. The FW ink fluorescent green works the best after all, but I did a couple of highlights, again, playing around with the colors that I had, and I really encourage you to do the same. If you have a lot of colors, throw some on there and see what happens. But when I was messing around with that fluorescent ink green from FW Inks, you can see the contrast is super high and exactly what you want when it comes to having those highlights really pop against the dark background. Okay, time for the bone color on the cape. And I have to admit, I had to water this down and do this several times, going up from that dark brown base spray paint that I do there. But after a while, it came through. Now going for a pure white on the wings, which is interesting. I'm using a very cheap brush in order to do this part, just like throw some stuff on there because I know I was going to go with a wash later on and then tidy it up again. Some more on the bone. There seems to be some gaps that I missed the first time around, which just means diluting it and going over it 4 to 5 times in order to get that consistency. All right, time for that little red strip in the middle, Mephiston red. Then going back with a Flash Gets kind of like red, or Wild Rider red, just to do the highlights. Alright, there is the flag starting to come in. It's just some yellow in the middle and get some color on it, some orange, Wild Rider red, and then Mephiston red for that one. But I used the same colors that I did with the green to highlight that, and the white as well. I just did the trim in red. Speaking of red, here goes red for the helmet. I decided to go for this build. This is a multi-part kit. And the only thing that's different here is that, you're either holding the helmet or holding the scabbard when it comes to his weapon. I mean, that's the only multi-part kit, and the head, which I totally mess up later on. Okay, so going back over here and just getting some nun oil into this banner over here, just trying to make it really contrasty and poppy and poppy. Yeah, there it is. It was a lot of fun doing a banner for the first time. That was pretty cool. All right. So I darken it down. Again, I'm using some Caribou Crimson to darken down the Mephiston red. And now I'm going to come back up with a brighter red. If you really want to go red, inks is hard to go wrong with. The only thing is that you have to control them a little more. But the intensity is there. All right, Morphang Brown on top of Rhinox Hide, my leather go-to. I know I have to change it up every now and again, but it just works. Oh, well, it's so delicious that I love using that. Keep in mind, not for competition pieces. I have to have, really depth to that leather. But when I'm just painting up an army, yeah, All right, using a micron pen to do some of the sketch work onto his purity seals. Keep in mind that I use two colors, a red micron pen as well as a black one to do that red seals on top and some red lettering as well. All right, some Stormhole Silver to do some of the backpack right there, and then some Nun Oil to get into the recesses. Again, having dynamic and having depth to it, making it really easy and fun to do. I am really enjoying painting up the first company here, the Dark Angels. And really slowly going with the white over the red over the gun, and that's a Mephiston red. And I try to keep that color palette as limited as I possibly can because I really don't want to inundate it with too many colors because then it looks too busy. All right, time for the sword. And oh my goodness, this had taken me the longest out of everything. I really enjoy using an airbrush for a sword because it takes so less time than this. But I spent hours on this thing just to try to get like an airbrush effect. I think the next swords, just going to go for the airbrush simply because this is taking a long time in order to get done. And there it is, going through Incubi Darkness. I really played with the Incubi Darkness on this one. And really training up the value of color throughout doing some Sotek Green as well. Getting that blue up there. I don't know if I jumped too large in value there. And I should have possibly gone a little not as bright with the gradient. But then Sotek Green is great. Especially if you want to make a value jump to a powder kind of blue on top of that. And then, you know, just really try to get it up to white. Getting it up to white is where you want to go. You want to go from really dark to really white. The contrast needs to be there. And blue as well. Just really giving that blue steel kind of look like an energy sword, the way it should look. And just bringing up those contrasts. Now, I'm just putting things next to each other because I've seen some really master painters put like colors just right next to each other and then slowly blend them in. And I'm learning that effect. I'm trying to. All right, I darken everything down by doing glazes of Sotek Green and just really getting that variant in color. Again, I'm going all the way up to white, so I'm going back and forth, putting smaller lines of white to reintroduce that there. And it looks like a hot mess until it doesn't. And then getting that white in there and blending it all again, and then getting into a glaze and blending it all again and blending it all again and blending it all again. It's like, just keep going back and forth and back and forth. Let me tell you, it took me forever to get this done. More time than I wanted to spend on a sword. Finally, after hours of work, I got to this level here, which doesn't look very special at all, but it is what it is. I don't know if I'm too happy with the color of that. But a lot of bad things started happening with this model. I mean, this was definitely a challenge to do because everything was going fine until, you know, it wasn't. And I'll let you know exactly what happened later on. So going down, just darkening down this steel with some Nun Oil and getting that steel nice and dirty. Alrighty, go play around a little bit with that gun belt. And, you know, I was just really looking forward to getting this model, and I thought it would actually be easy.
And everything was going fine and dandy until my daughter accidentally knocks it off of her dresser and Azrael falls into pieces. I reconstruct that. I come back from those pieces to finish up this model. Let's get back to it.
Back on the table, I'm putting all the disastrous pieces that broke off from the incident. And I freaked out. Like, I bought another Azrael, thinking that this was not salvageable. And then I came to my senses and said, what are we doing here? What are we doing? So I put all the pieces back together and worked on the shield, and we got through this. I was thinking maybe I'd had to sculpt some pieces, but it didn't really get to that point. But it really depressed me. Like, it really made me sad that it wasn't together. And now looking at it, you're not going to notice some things. And I, thought, Well, I mean, this is kind of the worst thing that could happen. The next thing that happened is once I attached the flag, I accidentally knocked it off again. So I had to reattach it yet again. And I think I broke the flag or the banner, that little stick that I'm painting right now in Stonehole Silver, 4 times. I think at least 4 times did that thing break. Ah, poor thing. Now here is where it gets tricky. Of course, I am doing the face, and I get these great blends, which I work up to getting the face just how I love it. But of course, everything can't be simple. You see it right there? It's looking great. Like really hammering it home on the face and really getting into all the details, and it's looking awesome. And then I, of course, paint that forest green on the back of his neck. It's awesome. Some people may have noticed, if you've ever built this model before, putting gray streaks into the hair, that something is off right now. Something is not right. And for those of you who guess it, it's going to come up really, really soon. The hood. Yeah, so I glued it on there, and it's upside down. So in an attempt to get the hood correctly, I touched and manipulated and chopped and did what I had to do. And I smudged the face completely. And I really had to reconstruct and repaint the face. And it did not come out as good as the last time, in my opinion. All right. So with the brush, I was just basing it. And some people wanted to see the dry brush that I did from the last one, from Belial. So it's just very simple, putting a nice chocolate color on top with a nice dry brush, just getting through there. Again, trying to avoid the airbrush on these tutorials. I don't know why. I think I'm going to do it on a larger squad, but I think for single minis, it's worth, dedicating some extra time to and having some fun with and learning how to paint. So then I get a nice little beige as well. And then I go for bone, and I try to just go over the spots that are, have the skulls on it and the bottom jaws and all those things, getting it right into place. And doing some finishing touches right now, setting him down and just picking out pieces that I didn't finish. And that's what I do. When I think I finish a model, I give it a day. And I wake up in the morning and I look at it and I take it with me around the house and I look at it and I look at it and I look at it. And I try to get all the pieces that I missed. All right, time for some weathering. I'm going to put some dust on there. And after this is done, I think it's time for a grand reveal.
So there it is, Azrael, all painted up, Supreme Grandmasters for the Dark Angels. Really enjoying painting Dark Angels. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, I don't need this box anymore, so later. Remember to paint every miniature to increase at least one skill. Do all the YouTube things, and if you really like this and want to support the channel, there's a thanks over there that you can click on and buy me a coffee if you want to support the channel. If not, that's perfectly alright. Again, paint every miniature to increase one skill, and may your backlog get ever smaller. Bye-bye. Peace out. And later for you, I'm going to start thinking about what I'm going to paint next.